You should have a Refuah Shelemah Kreva. As you've seen on the post, it says that the reason why we're joining together for a Chassidish Fabrengen, there's a famous story that's printed in the back of Tehillim from the Frierdiker Rebbe. And the Frierdiker Rebbe writes like this, that the Alter Rebbe was at Menachem Mendel of Vitebsk. We all know that the Rebbe of the Alter Rebbe was the Maggid, Mezrich. When the Maggid passed away, the Alter Rebbe first went to Rebbe Avraham Malach, Maggid's son. He shortly passed away after his father. And then the Chassidim went to Menachem Mendel of Vitebsk. And the Alter Rebbe was sitting there at the table of Menachem Mendel of Vitebsk. When Menachem Mendel was not at the table, the Chassidim were sitting together, and Menachem Mendel was in his room. And one of the Chassidim said that he has a dire situation, and the doctors don't give him much time to live. And he asked that the Chassidim give him a bracha. And he was crying. And the Chassidim turned to him and said, "Why are you asking us for the bracha? Go knock on the door, go into the Menachem Mendel, and go ask him for a bracha. He's a Rebbe. Chassidim don't give a bracha." And he said, "No, I want a bracha from the Chassidim," and he was crying bitterly. And the Alter Rebbe got up. Usually the Alter Rebbe didn't interject. Here the Alter Rebbe got up, and it was known that he would get up when he would say something from his Rebbe, said something from the Maggid, who heard from the Baal Shem Tov as follows, that a Chassidish Fabrengen, a Chassidic gathering, could accomplish much more than even Malach Mechol. Malach Mechol is the angel, the ministering angel over the Yidden, that usually is an advocate on our behalf of the Yidden to ask for brachas, and all the brachas we will receive. And a Chassidish Fabrengen accomplishes more. What's the story behind it? The Alter Rebbe said a mashal, an analogy. Imagine a child needs something. So the child comes to his father, and the child says, "Tate," he says, "I need A, B, or C. I need a refuah. I need something. I need some spending money." So the father starts thinking, does this child deserve it or not? But if all the children come together, all the brothers and the sisters, and everybody comes to the father and says that this child needs whatever he needs from you, the father doesn't think twice. The father gives b'shefa. So therefore, we are all here gathered at a Fabrengen, and we're turning to the Eibishter, and we're telling him to send Meir, Benyamin, Ben Chana, Sara, a Refuah Shelemah Kreva. L'chaim, l'chaim.
Amen. L'chaim, l'chaim.
The order of the Fabrengen, as the Rebbe instituted, is that we're going to have Torah, Tefillah, Tzedakah. So we'd like to ask Rabbi Tannenhaus to begin with Torah, to share with us some words of Torah and some words of Chizuk.
I start with the L'chaim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech sha'al kol niyah b'dvoroi.
Amen.
L'chaim, l'chaim, Meir, Benyamin, Ben Chana, Sara, shall have a refuah, Shelemah, Kreva, take of miyad mamish.
Amen.
I'll start with today's Hayom Yom, which is connected to the theme. From a public talk of my revered father, the Rebbe Rashab, part of the Hasidic exodus from Egypt, Yetzias Mitzrayim, is the mitzvah to recount the story of the exodus from Mitzrayim verbally. This means telling Hasidic stories and listening and internalizing them in one's innermost self. One should realize that every story offers a directive for our lives. Every story ought to refine our character, produce inner gusto in the loving performance of mitzvahs, and sensitize us to perceive the pleasantness of the teachings of Chassidus. So this is today's Hayom Yom, which speaks about internalizing Chassidic stories. So we know that yesterday we celebrated a Hasidic story that happened in our community with Hurricane Andrew 28 years ago. There was a tremendous sense of achdus at that time by all Hasidim. It was 6 months after the Rebbe's stroke, and doomsday was predicted in South Florida. Tens of thousands of people were expected to be killed by a 150-mile-per-hour hurricane, which certainly they said it will wipe away a great chunk of South Florida. And it was Sunday morning, the 24th of Menachem Av. I called Rabbi Korf. I asked him if he's going to call the Rebbe, and he suggested that I call the Rebbe. I called Rabbi Groner, and at 8 o'clock, he picked up the phone, and he told me I can't say for sure if I'll get an answer. And he said, if I get an answer, I'll call you. And 1 hour later, he called back, and he said the Rebbe was adamant not to leave, not to vacate. And later on, I met Rabbi Yingi Bistritsky many years later. He told me I was in the room, and I saw the way Rabbi Groner asked the Rebbe concerning your initial call from Florida about Hurricane Andrew. And he asked him in 5 different ways, both in the positive and in the negative. At that time, the Rebbe was only nodding. The Rebbe was not able to speak due to the stroke of the 27th of the Rishon. And in 5 different ways, the Rebbe adamantly insisted with the nod of his head that we remain. And later on, Rabbi Shapiro called, and later on, Rabbi Rafi Solomon called. And it was an incredible miracle because all the experts were wrong. One of the reasons they were wrong is they predicted a wet storm, and it was a dry storm, and we had many people in our house. We gave up our bedroom. And there's a lot about it, and there's much to talk about it, but every year on Chof Hei Menachem Av, I say L'chaim, and in Shul we have a Farbrengen, if we can, and it's something that we should recognize that the day that Meir Benyamin ben Chana Sara got hurt and had the severe injury is a day of Nissim in Lubavitch, and Nissim for Klal Yisrael, because 28 years ago, Koyach, years ago, this is when the big miracle of Hurricane Andrew took place. And it was a miracle not just for South Florida, because Chassidim all over the world were revitalized. It was 6 months after the stroke. And this was the first public miracle that was so prominent and so apparent. And it literally gave tremendous strength to Chassidim then. And as we learned in today's Hayom Yom, any Chassidish story has to be taught and remembered and revitalized. So certainly, Megalgalin Zchus L'Yom Zakai, the fact that this accident happened on the 25th of Menachem Av, a day that's connected to Nissim v'Niflois, that was in the year Shnas Niflois Bakoil. So certainly, Meir Benyamin ben Chana Sara will have a tremendous ness beyond the predictions of any doctor, because doctors can't predict. Doctors are not prophets, and we'll speak a little bit about that a little bit later. I also want to mention that this past Shabbos was Shabbos Mevorchim Elul, and that's the month which blesses, the month which Melech is Basoda. And the Rebbe always teaches us that anything which gives a bracha for something is bigger than that which it gives a bracha for, and it contains that which it gives a bracha for. So the whole concept of Melech Basoda, the king in the field, already started yesterday. Even though Chodesh Elul is starting Thursday and Friday, Rosh Chodesh, but the bracha of Shabbos Mevorchim was clearly already beginning yesterday, and that's also the bracha when the Yud Gimel Midas Harachmim, the 13 attributes of mercy, are shining by Klal Yisrael. So may it be the will of Hashem that through the Melech Basoda, which already was blessed yesterday, the king in the field, the Ebershter, Melech Machi Amlochim is with us, and he's with the Israel family, and he's with Meir Benyamin ben Chana Sara. He's with him already, no question, taking care of him. Without a doubt, Hashem will shine the 13 attributes on this little Yingale, and Meir Benyamin ben Chana Sara will have a miraculous recovery, take of a miyad mamish.
Amen. Amen. Thank you, Rabbi Tennaus. As we mentioned, that the world stands on 3 pillars. And the 3 pillars are Torah, prayer, tefillah, and acts of goodness and kindness, tzedakah. We are now going to say some Tehillim. So we know the power of Tehillim is beyond our imagination. We have no inkling on how great the power of Tehillim is, and this has been passed down to generations and generations. We will now say 2 kapitel of Tehillim. We're going to ask Rabbi Mendy Levy, if you could unmute yourself, the uncle of Meir, Benyamin, Ben, Chana, Sara, to please say Kapitel Aleph, and we're going to share the screen, and everybody could see Kapitel Aleph and join in together, and we're going to, as we say, pasuk by pasuk, verse by verse. Mandy? Okay. Mandy?
Yeah.
Are you able to join us and say the Kapitel Aleph?
Sure.
You ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Go ahead. Oh,
אשר איש אשר לא יולך ועצת שויים ובדרך חטאים לא יעמוד ומוישב לעצם לא יושב.
Ashrei ish asher lo halach b'atzis Hashem v'derech hatayim lo yamad v'meishav leitzim lo yoshav.
אם בסירס אדוני חפצוי ובסירוסו יגע יום ולילה.
B'ser sanei chavtzei v'sirosa yaga yomam v'layla.
והיה כשוסה פלגים מוים אשר פריו ייתן ביטוי ועליו לא יבל וכל אשר יעשה יצליח.
V'yakei shosla palgim moyim asher periyitim b'yitay v'aleyo lo yibel v'chol asher yasi yatzliach.
לא יכן אורשויים כי אם כמויץ אשר תדפנו רוח.
Lo yichin Hashem ki im kamoitz asher titvenu ruach.
על כן לא יקום אורשויים במשפט וחטאים בעדס צדיקים.
Al ken lo yikum rishayim b'mishpat chatayim b'ad tzadikim.
כי יודע אדוני דרך צדיקים ודרך רשויים טובים.
Yeah, derech tzadikim v'derech rishayim teved. Now say Kapitel Chaf. Let me just see. Levi. Say it together. Lam natseach mizmor leDavid. Yan chadinei b'yem tzara. Yisagev chashem leHyakev. Yishlach ezrecha mikodesh umitzion yisadeka. Yisker kol min chaysecha v'iloscha yidash nesela. Yitein lecha chilavecha v'chol atzoscha yimalei. Niran enov yishosecha v'shem Eloheinu nidgel. Yimalei adinoi kol mishalisecha. Ata yadaiti ki yoshi adinoi mishicha yanehu mishmei kachay. B'gvuros yesha yaminoi. Ela v'rechev ve'ela v'asusim v'anachnu b'shem Adonai Eloheinu naskir heima karu v'nafalu v'anachnu kamna v'neseidad Adonai Hoshia hamelech yaneinu v'yom kareinu. The Rebbe spoke many times about the power of tefillah, specifically from the children. Tehillim says that from the mouths of the pure, the innocent, and that is, of course, the children. And the children will join us now. And if you have a child with you, please encourage them to say this. And please unmute yourself. I'll put up on the screen the 12 psukim. And we'll start off, we'll ask the finer children join us with the first pasuk to honor us and lead us with the pasuk of Torah Tiva. So we have Moshe, Minna, and Yitzchak Shlomo. Yassi and Bracha. Can you guys unmute yourself? Tyra. Siva. Okay. We'd like to ask Nusin, can your girl say Shema?
Yes, let's do it. Come.
Yeah.
Shema.
Yisrael.
Adonai. Eloheinu. Adonai.
Echad.
We're now going to have the pasuk of Bechol Dar. Can we ask any of the other children like to join us?
I didn't understand.
C'est le temps?
Why? Trying to get
Hershey, can you want to stay together with your children? Okay, Bechol. Badar. Get the children to say together, Chayav. Beryl Gerevich, can you join? Call Yisrael. They call Yisrael together. Let's say call Yisrael. Call. Elek. Abba. Yamen. Ula. Aretz.
Rabbi Feiner,
yeah.
Rabbi Lazar is ready to come on now.
Okay, we're going to continue the psukim in a few moments. Is he on?
He said now. Does anyone see his name?
Okay, I'm sure he'll join us in a minute. So we're going to continue the psukim in a moment. Or you know what? Let's continue the psukim till Rabbi Lazar comes on. That way, once we have the children's attention, we'll continue with the children. Let's continue till Rabbi Lazar comes on. We'll say the kapitluch together. Ki karev elecha hadavar ma'oy. All the children. Vihine. Hashem. Nitzav. Alav. Moy. Chol. Haaretz. Kvoidai.
Mabit. Olav. Loichen. Oivdoi.
Who wants to say Bereshis? Yes, who wants to say Bereshis? Bereshit. Sara. Elokim. Eis. Shemayim. Eis. Haaretz.
Shinanto.
Levanecha. Vidibarta. Bam. Tiftecha. Veisecha. V'lechtecha. Vaderech. Uv'shoch becha. Uv'kumecha. Yod gaiti. V'loy matzasi. Al tamin. Lo yogaiti. Umatzasi. Al tamin. Yogaiti. Umatzasi. Kamin. No, any of the children? After. Loud and clear. After. L'reyacha. Shamaycha. Rabbi. Akiva. Omer. Zeh. Klal. Gadol. Atayra. V'zeh. Kol. Odom. V'sachlis. Briyasai. Vriyas. Kol. Oilamis. Elyainim. Sachtainim. Liyais.
Loi,
Ira,
Ira,
Zoi,
Zoi,
Tachtainim,
Tachtoinim,
Yismach,
Yismach,
Yisrael,
Yisrael,
Vaisav,
Ba'oisev,
Perush,
Perush,
Shekol,
Kol,
Mi,
Mi,
Shuhu,
Shahum,
Zera,
Zera,
Yisrael,
Yisrael,
Yesh,
Yesh,
Loi,
Loi,
Meach,
Ismoya,
Nimchas,
Simchas,
Hashem,
Hashem,
Asher,
Asher,
Tos,
Tos,
Sameach,
Sameach,
Vididasai,
Vidirosoi,
Tachtainim.
Tachtoinim.
Thank you, all the children. Your tefillis will for sure be miskabel. Hashem will listen to your davening that Meir, Benyamin, Chana, Sara will have a complete and speedy refuah, a complete and speedy recovery right now. We will now ask Rabbi Beryl Lazar, the Chief Rabbi of Russia, to join us and share with us some words of chizuk.
So first of all, I want to share with you that I'm today next to the AL, actually flying back to Moscow in a few hours. So we were here in davening, and Emir Hashem, all the tefillos of Klal Yisrael will be fulfilled, and Hashem will listen to all the screaming, crying, begging, and Emir Hashem will bring a Refuah Shelemah, the court of Mamish. Everything is Bashgacha Pratis, and this morning I was learning a Meir. The Rebbe explains the idea of Anile Deidi V'Deidi Li, and that this is a month which is soon beginning. We just had Shabbos Mevorchim, a month that is going to bring the connection between the Jew and Hashem in a special way. And the Alter Rebbe brings in the Kututer and the Parsha Sre'ei, actually Parsha of the Shabbos, the Moshel of the Melech Basodeh. So we know that the Melech is actually in the field, and Mare Ponim Seichakes, and he smiles to each one, means every bakosh, every request is being fulfilled. But the Rebbe in this Meir stresses that this Meir is on page Lamed Beis, Lev, which is the idea of the heart. The heart is, the way the Rebbe says, Anile Deidi, they will become one. We become one, our heart with the heart of Hashem, the heart of Hashem with our heart, but even more, the heart of the Jews between themselves. Once there's achdut between the Jews, this is Anile Deidi. This is actually the love and the care for each other. Hashem, the Melech sees that his children are together, they are caring for each other, loving each other. The word of the Rebbe, they're united, and this is going to bring that the Melech is going to listen to all our tefillas. So Mitzvah Hashem, I have no doubt, is Bashgacha Protis, that it's page lev, the idea of the heart, and the heart is really what unites us all. And actually, Shabbos Re'ei, this is the Meir is not connected to Chodesh Elul. The Meir is not connected to Parsha Shoftim. The Meir is actually in Parsha Re'ei. So we see this strong connection. And if the Melech is Basodeh, then we'll see the miracle. No question about it. Our emunah, our bitochen, our assurance that this is going to happen will bring an incredible miracle, Mirz Hashem, and we'll soon be rejoicing. Make a big Suda Seidah, start planning it, and Hashem will help that all our tefillas, especially this kinnos, will break all the barriers, and we'll see how the Melech brings us back in his palace, rejoicing, Mare Ponim Seichakes, with a huge smile, sending down all the possible blessing in this world. So the tefillas here by the Eyal should be added to all the tefillas of Klal Yisrael and bring a Yeshua, a Refuah Shelemah Kreva. The whole world is davening, and the great results.
Thank you very, very much, Rabbi Lazar, and especially with such a last-minute notice. And you should be zoiche to be memali your shlichus mitoich harchava with brias nefesh and brias aguf and menuchas nefesh and menuchas aguf, and it should be by harchava. And thank you for your efforts of achdus by Klal Yisrael and achdus by the shluchim, which will certainly be memaher the hisgalus of Mashiach Tzidkenu.
Amen. Chaim l'chaim.
Chaim l'chaim.
As mentioned, so we had Torah, Tefillah. Everybody, if you could take a coin or $1 or any amount and give it right now in tzedakah, connect it right away to an action, to put it in the tzedakah box, do a mitzvah, take upon yourself an extra good deed, whether it's you're going to call somebody after this Farbrengen is over and continue the Farbrengen, that it should have a Pulan Mshachas, it should have a continued effect for the Refuah, Shelemah, Kreva of Meir, Benyamin, and Chana, Sara. Now we have Teira, Tfilah, Tzedakah. We have the Farbrengen. We definitely, as Rabbi Lazar said, we're bursting through the heavens with our Bakasha to the Eibishter. I'd like to ask Rabbi Tannenhaus to just be Messiah, the Farbrengen, with a few words.
We mentioned that last week this past Shabbos was Re'eh. This week is Shoiftim. Everyone is familiar with the famous Farbrengen from the Rebbe Shoiftim Tinose. The last time we were zoiche to have a Farbrengen from the Rebbe on Parsha Shoiftim, and on page 792 of the original Sefer HaSichos. So the Rebbe mentions, and I'll translate briefly in English. So we have the instruction, as mentioned above, that we have to publicize to everyone in the generation that we were meritorious, that the Eibishter, Hashem, chose and appointed someone who is a Bal Bechira, somebody who could make his own choice, which means that he is way beyond, higher than everyone else of the generation, that he should be Sheftayich and Yoyatzayich, that he should be your judge and your counselor, and he should be the prophet of the generation, the Navi Hadar, who should instructions and give counsel to this service of all the Jewish people and to all people of the generation in all aspects of Torah and mitzvahs, and also concerning the general daily life and conduct, and also including the Chol Derechecha, the Eyu, knowing Hashem in all your ways, and Kol Ma'asecha, that all your actions should be L'Shem Shemayim, for the sake of heaven. And the Rebbe says that this Novi appointed in our generation includes the instruction and the counsel of Nevuah HaIkris, the primary prophecy to the prophecy of La'alter L'Geula. Immediately we go to the redemption, and immediately Mamish Hinei Zeh Mashiach Ba. Behold, this is it. Mashiach Ba, Mashiach has arrived. So it's important that we stick to this narrative of the Rebbe in this Sicha of Parshas Shoiftim. Rabbi Korf, the head shliach of Florida, very often writes about this and pleads with the shluchim that they should mention this point, that the Rebbe said that there is a Navi in our generation, there is a prophet, and he's the only one we have to listen to. And I remember during Hurricane Andrew, everyone was united. Nobody doubted that when the Rebbe, even though he couldn't speak, but he was so adamant with many, many nods of the head, he was so adamant that we should stay put. We all did it with unison and with firm faith, without questioning whether we should or we shouldn't. We all stayed, and we were Baruch Hashem all protected, and it was a Nez Golui, and it was a big miracle and a big wonder that we merited to see from the Rebbe on the 25th of Menachem Av, Tavshin Nun Beis. So too, we have to know now that even though we're not sure what the future holds because of the different predictions, whether it's the doctors of Meir Benyamin ben Chana Sara, whether it's the experts concerning the pandemic, whether it's the experts concerning social unrest, we have to stay firm that we know that what the future holds for us, because we are Chassidim of the Rebbe, the Dor HaShvi, the 7th generation, and we can't weave and we can't deviate, and we must stick to the real narrative that the Rebbe gave, and Chas v'Sholom, God forbid, never to change that narrative. And the narrative is that Mashiach is coming. This we know for sure. And that's what we said then when people asked us, aren't you leaving Hallandale because the hurricane is coming? We said, we don't know if the hurricane's coming. There's only one thing we know. Mashiach is coming. And the same is with what's going to be with all of us as a klal, as a general group of people, Klal Yisrael and the whole world. And the same is true with Meir Benyamin ben Chana Sara. Doctors are not prophets. They're not allowed to say any prophecy. They can only say how the child is feeling, how the child is doing. There's only one Nasi Hadar, and there's only one Novi Hadar, and that is our Rebbe. And our Rebbe told us there's only one thing we have to look forward to, And what is that? The coming of Mashiach Tzidkenu, may it be Bimheira, B'Yameinu, Mamish, and Meir Benyamin ben Chana Sara should greet Mashiach Tzidkenu, Gesundheit and Freiligkeit.
Amen. Amen. Achsidische Farbrengen never ends. Continue the Farbrengen through Torah, Tefillah, and Tzedakah, especially in the month of Elul, as in the name Elul itself is mentioned, of course, Torah, Tefillah, and Tzedakah, Nila Daidi, Vidaidi Li, Ina Liyadi Visamti L'cha, all the Rashi Tevis, and of course, Tshuva, and ultimately with Mashiach now. L'chaim, L'chaim. You're welcome to reach out to us if you'd like to know which kapitel of Tehillim to say. In general, any kapitel is great. And definitely, if you take upon yourself a new mitzvah, you could share it with Iran or with Chani or with us in the office, and we'll put together an email, a list of all the mitzvahs that were added and all the tefillahs that were said. And I'm sure we'll bring them a lot of chizuk, a lot of encouragement.
Thank you, Rabbi Feiner, for hosting and for helping to arrange. Thank you to all the children for the Yud Beis Psukim. Thank you for Rabbi Lazar. And don't forget everyone to give tzedakah in the schus of Meir Benyamin ben Chana Sara for Refuah, Shelemah, Ukreiva, take of Miyad Mamish L'chaim.
L'chaim, L'chaim.
Amen.